The unexpected halt to proceedings sent a clamour around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. And then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Oh, a mighty feast! 3rd of November, 8:07 p.m., Sholmes's suite. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikataba and I know. You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So, this prosecutor, Sergei, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. And all this started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. There's a lot still to expose here. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikataba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes? Had to fill out the telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already. What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak, and kidney pie. Oh, I do love steak and kidney pie. It's lovely. Yorkshire pudding, not a big fan. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. Oh, for me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean? Well, for a brief moment I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Aww. Oh. So, who do you were? Alice, do you mean? Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened in on the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. Devious. What? He died? The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikataba are Iris's father. Again, going by the eye color. Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite alright. Then why don't I get an apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? Suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. Tomorrow, maybe? So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away. He doesn't look happy, does he? Look at him there, he's just like, I wanted pheasant. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Yeah, he's moody again. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikataba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a special conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I could probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. That we do. The telegram from Japan. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this. I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi. A. Shin. T. Gregson. J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names? We've come across the exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. We're getting back to the discs finally. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Sheen, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Yes. Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Entered Judge Jigoku's office undetected. and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Asanaga to undertake such a... It's just seeing him there, just like with the turtle on his head again. It's such an onerous task for you. And in my name. I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. I understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. The telegram from Japan has been entered into the court record. Well, let's have a bloody look at it then. See if there's anything else on there from Hasanaga. Alright, that's it then. That's all that's on it. Okay, Kazuma's death. And that tragedy we had to go through on the SS Burya. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Suzuto. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my. You mean... The arrangement between our 2 countries is already in place. 1 university student lawyer and 1 judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in the aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is 1 lawyer and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Devious. So you manipulated me? I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge of your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. Okay, well that's good of you at least. I seem to remember Miss Suzuto and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen on the impending tragedy, you see. Oh. An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. But it's not opened up another one. What can we present to him then? Let's see here. Stop. Oh, we'll go. Yeah. So out of the two, I'm more interested in this. Mr. Sholmes, would you mind looking at this? This is hardly the time, Mr. Naruhodo, as I'm sure you will appreciate. Oh, no, of course not. Okay. My attention is entirely drawn to one single matter now. The pheasant. Well, I can't present you a pheasant. Anyone would think you hadn't eaten in weeks. Okay, so maybe it does want that, but... Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 PM in order to review evacuation procedures. The drill will take 20 minutes. You're to resume duties as soon as the drill is over. That's going to be relevant. It's gonna be the telegram. And there was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched. So, you knew beforehand, so tell us more. You obviously knew that that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of the top-secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets, yeah. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details. No, I want the details, mate. But you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes. What a fabulous line. Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learnt of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, It was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected. The 4 names. As I said when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names. Because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Keisuke and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths, to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I'd recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. Yeah, it's that sort of thing like, she's gonna know we've kept this from her for a while now. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Iris. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. You mean about Asashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. When you joined us for tea? Ah. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Yeah, topsy-turvy. Topsy hypothesis. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asashin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed. And it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Ah. Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asashin is because he was the target of an assassination. And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? I mean, what do you mean? Like, Well, look at it. A. Shin, J. Wilson, K. Asogi, T. Gregson. That's what he means. It's ha-ha. Puts it in a very different light. Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the four, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh, he did say in court earlier today. Yes, on the 31st of October I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got involved in something like that? Assassin exchange. Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassination exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. But the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appear utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. Wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? But Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the Mark? Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Well, that was your idea, yeah. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. That he'd be transferring to Paris Police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. That is exactly the right amount to take in. Alright everyone, that's quite enough of all the serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is. A little bit sad, though. Hmm? I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor? Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. You must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sis. What does all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. So, the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. Felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Aww, that's sweet. To be continued.